A Guten Erev Shabbos. Although we celebrated Yom Haatzmaut earlier in the week, so that it would not impinge on Shabbos, Shabbat is actually the fifth day of the month of Iyar, the Hebrew calendar date on which Israel's independence was declared in 1948. You know how that unfolded, a spectacular triumph of a people returning home from all over the world, reviving a dormant language, building up a society and an economy, extending a hand from the very beginning to help other nations develop and grow, and becoming a regional superpower and a global leader in tech innovation, curing and preventing diseases, and so many other fields of human advancement. And of course, through all 77 years, Israel has been under attack from one, two, three, four, or more sides. A very influential religious Zionist thinker and teacher is Rav Tzvi Yehuda Kook. He wrote passionately about having a vision for Israel, specifically a redemptive vision, because ultimately it's all about redemption, not just to go and make the desert bloom, to be free, to have great universities, and to eat shawarma, although those are all wonderful things. It's more than that. It's about transforming the land, transforming ourselves, ultimately transforming the world for the better, if that's not too tall an order. Rav Kook is right there with us in realizing that the process is all over the place. As much as we would like it to be smooth and linear, with progress in logical sequence, he writes, the bit by bit process which characterizes Israel's practical and spiritual redemption includes in it all of the delays and interruptions, as well as the failures and retreats, the complications and snags along the way. This wondrous phenomenon is a halting process, and as long as its enlightenment is still developing, as long as its power is not fully mature, as long as it is not fully formed and totally perfected, there's a place amid the imperfection and incompletion, amid the deficiencies of enlightenment and empowerment, for all manner of defects and weaknesses, obscurity, and corruption. Rav Kook clearly realizes that we are human, and the people building and running the state are also human and will continue to be human. So when we read stories in the papers, or we ignore stories in the papers about corruption, mistakes, scandals, oversights, and major foul-ups, we should know that Rav Kook would be reading those with us, just as disappointed as we are, and no less hopeful that things can and will get better. He writes further about what it takes to get to a better place, and he's deliberately ambiguous about whose job that is. He says, these require redoubled efforts to strengthen and repair, to elevate and improve, to reach the glory and grandeur of lofty perfection. What Rav Kook does not say is that the leaders, the government, or the rabbis should take the lead or even the responsibility in redoubling these efforts. We pride ourselves on being decentralized, not having a central authority figure that we have to follow or even proclaim loyalty to and follow in theory. Everyone follows their local rabbi, and even that, as you know, on the best of days, uphill struggle. Maybe just because of that, Rav Kook does not say specifically which of us, who should take the initiative, because maybe it's us, maybe it's all of us, maybe the Jewish people, including Israel, is not made up primarily of Knesset members, prime ministers, party leaders, or even rabbis. Maybe it's made up of all of us. So really, in the most egalitarian sense, the responsibility to make things better depends on all of us answering the call. For those of us who attended the Yom Haatzmaut event on Wednesday night, there were a number of KSTers there. The main theme of the evening we heard was Hineni, here I am. That certainly applies to the soldiers who are required to show up in uniform with gear when they're called up. There were also many, many people who showed up and said, Hineni, here I am on October 7th and after. Of course, off-duty soldiers who realized, even in the midst of the holiday of Simchat Torah, what was at stake. They left their shuls, they left their families to answer the call. Civilians who rescued each other, sheltered each other, offered first aid to each other and to soldiers, protected one another. And the whole country who supported the effort to regain control of the southwestern border and to regain control of Israel's security. And even we were given some credit, those of us outside of Israel, who also said, Hineni, who rallied, who donated, who shipped supplies, who showed up to volunteer, who advocated. It was all of us, everyone who answered the call and said, here I am, Hineni. Our good friend Rabbi Mazer, who's the head of Mizrahi Canada and has spent time here with us at KST, said it like this. The first question God asked to humankind is, Ayeka, where are you? That was the question that was put to Adam and Eve in the garden. And when the question was asked to Abraham, before the Akedah, he answered, Hineni, here I am. When God calls to Yosef, in chapter 37 of Genesis, Joseph's answer is, Hineni, here I am. God calls to Moshe from the burning bush. Moshe answers, Hineni. To Shmuel, Samuel, and Isaiah, Yeshaya Hanavi, the call came, and the answer was, here I am. This echoed in the talk given Wednesday night by Daniel and Judy Steinberg, parents of Colonel Yoni Steinberg, commander of the Nachal Brigade, who was the highest-ranking officer killed in battle on October 7th. Throughout his career, from when he enlisted all his way up the ranks in the IDF until call-up on that fateful day was, here I am, Hineni. The challenges come from within, certainly from without. And even the challenges from beyond our borders have the danger of affecting us. Rav Kook writes further, he says, amid the marvelous and multifarious strides we take in the process of redemption, we also encounter obstacles and obscurities imported from foreign lands, causing internal and external problems of activity and intellect as they invade the land of our life and the legacy of our coming again to life. In other words, he's saying the attributes and accusations, the attitudes that we've absorbed in our exile can get into our heads. As they say, a lie repeated enough times becomes the truth. Don't we see that everywhere we turn today? This might help us explain why we see so many Jews in very compromising positions these days. Let's assume people have the best intentions, but when people absorb enough anti-Israel and even anti-Jewish attitudes from politicians, media online, especially when they don't have a solid grounding to be able to tell what the authentic Jewish approach is, or the increasingly important skill to be able to tell between online information and online misinformation or disinformation. It gets very, very hard. You have to feel badly for people who get these ideas, as we said, imported from foreign lands, stuck in their heads. It's not an easy challenge. Rav Kook's advice to all of us is to turn to the greatest storehouse of strength, as he calls it, the broad truth of our divine rebirth, the faith in the healing of our spirits when returning to our homeland. And he quotes Isaiah chapter 52. The voice of your watchmen, they lift up their voice. Together they sing for joy. For eye to eye, they see the return of the Lord to Zion. Kol tzofayich, nas'u kol yachtav yirananu, ki ayin ba'ayin yiru b'shuv Hashem Tzion. There are things as they appear to us in the moment, and things as they are in the grand sweep of history. Rav Kook calls this the lower eye and the upper eye. The lower eye is the struggles, the ethical and political challenges. The upper eye is knowing that as we look at progress over the generations, as we achieve renewal and rebirth. He says, perfecting the vision of the entire horizon of reality, the full vista of the overarching theme, including all the episodes of our redemption, this is what gives us the solutions to our dreams and our wars. what confirms this truth of their promise, what fulfills the song of our tongue. This higher vision where the Jewish people are headed, knowing where we've been and what we've endured, is the vision that Rav Kook articulates in this moving and uplifting essay, which you can find in the Koren Machzor for Yom Haatzmaut, alongside thoughtful reflections from other contemporary Zionist thinkers and teachers and leaders. Rav Tzvi Yehuda Kook's father, Rav Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Kook, the first Ashkenazic chief rabbi of the land of Israel, discusses in an essay we studied this week how even our portion of the week, Tazria Metzora, talks about the unique and elevated quality of the land of Israel, the complex laws of purity and impurity that extended as far as inanimate objects like walls of houses applies uniquely in the land of Israel. And even then, not in our times, but only in the time when the majority of the Jewish nation is settling and inhabiting its borders. This indicates to us the unique and elevated sensitivity of the land and its balance with the people who bear its name, Israel. There's so much potential for transformation, so much spirituality ready to be brought into actuality that is all reflected in this aspect of the land of Israel, which in the early days was called by yet another name, Canaan. These portions, really the whole book of Leviticus, Vayikra, have to do with recognizing and appreciating sanctity, kedusha, holiness. To recognize the holy is to recognize that something is different and distinct from other things that may look similar. A state of Israel may look like other nations in some ways. A Jew may look like and even act like other people, particularly those in their environment, and yet kadosh, holy, means separate and distinct. Here is where our participation and our contributions are awaited and valued and important. It raises the question for each of us, each in our own way. The original question of God to Adam, Ayeka, where are you? And each of us is called upon to answer, Hineni, here I am. Given our strengths and our vulnerabilities, our talents and our needs, recognizing that we are a unique and holy people, and that together we make up a unique and holy people, and that our land itself reveals its qualities of Kedusha, holiness, when we answer its call in whatever form that looks like. That is a true cause for celebration. A good Shabbos.